Hello. Um, my name is Valerie. Today I'm going to be reading a short story that I wrote, or it's closer to a piece of flash that I wrote this semester. Um, it's titled "Thank You, Hildy." Um, there was a couple things I wanted to try with my writing that I could probably point out towards the end. Um, Personification of the weather, stuff like that. Different, switching up my sentences for more variety. Alrighty. I was already up on the wavy terracotta tiles when the water took my car. I parked it in the driveway less than 2 hours ago, racing home with the howling winds threatening to blow me into the ditch. Shoving a bottle of water and a flattened protein bar into my coat pocket, I waded through the knee-high swamp that was the living room. My waterlogged shoes squelched the whole way up the stairs, forming little puddles of their own as I headed for the highest place in the house. The attic hatch had been painted shut, and I'd used an old pair of kitchen scissors to cut around the sealed door and rip it free as the water slowly climbed the stairs. Crouched there with a pounding heart, every gust of wind that battered the outer walls caused the house and I to quake in tandem. I'd wanted to wait out the hurricane, despite the dusty air making my eyes tear up and my lungs ache. But with the increasing sound of lapping water came a memory, a story I'd heard once about a family who escaped into their attic only to drown when the water swallowed the house. With a strained grunt, I managed to shove open one of the dirty windows cut into the slanted ceiling and clamber outside. My raincoat whipped around me, and I gripped the tiles hard with shaky arms, hauling myself onto the roof. I sat a few minutes later, hunched against the short chimney that shielded me from the wind, and I watched my car float away down the street, pushed by the rushing current and debris from around the neighborhood. I'd bought it used 2 years ago and christened it Hildy, had saved up for almost double that time to get it. It had been with me through my breakup and subsequent teary drives, through my last 3 jobs, all of which failed to stick, and through my move cross country to this small house my uncle had left me when he died. I'd never really liked the house, had only visited once every few years with my parents before they split up. Now it was the only home I had. My uncle had kept it clean, but somehow it had developed a mildew smell, one that seeped into the carpeting and walls and made you think of bright, wet moss when the windows were closed for too long. I wondered if it had been flooded before. The water scaled higher up the yellow painted stucco walls, sloshing against the upstairs windows. Over and over, waves would break against the house, splashing high into the air before rejoining the torrent. I had the faint sense that they were reaching out for me, as if they wanted to wind around my legs and pull me down into the rushing current. My ears filled with the roaring wind, and I clamped shivering hands over them to block it out. Even still, I heard the crunching and snapping when the magnolia in my neighbor's yard was uprooted and dragged downstream to follow my lost car. The air tore at me as I pressed my back fiercely against the chimney to keep from being blown away, and for the first time in a long time, I prayed. There was a strange moment of calm as the wind died, like someone pressing pause on a loud movie, and suddenly light was piercing the angry gray clouds that had stretched across the sky. I felt the rays on my face, gentle and warm, the way my mother's hand used to be when she brushed it over my cheek before kissing me goodnight. I squinted up into the quiet, startled by the suspended weather, and watched as a translucent glowing shape detached itself from the lancing beams of sun and drifted toward me. It made my eyes water to look at, and I blinked them rapidly as it came closer, but I could not turn away. It stopped just before me, floating above the now drenched tiles beneath my feet. The more I looked at it, the more I could see a vague resemblance to a human form, its chest pulsing with a swirling multitude of colors. Warmth washed over me, and I fell back slightly, unsure of what to do. I'd only wish for the rain to cease. After a moment, it raised a long limb, and I saw the blurred outline of outstretched fingers. Cautiously, I extended my own trembling arm, transfixed by the being, but no sooner had the tips of my fingers begun glowing red from proximity, it withdrew and rocketed back toward the sun, once again melding with the light and returning to the sky. Behind it, the storm clouds quickly knitted closed. As if I was being thrown back into reality, the wind resumed, sheets of rain thrashing against my back. I hunched over myself, clutching at the edge of the battered tiles. A loud crack, like the sky itself was crashing down around me, and suddenly a bolt of lightning struck the water. Purple currents sizzled out from the touchpoint, racing along the surface in the sharp lines of shattered glass. The water around me began to boil, and I stared as steam rose up, quickly carried away by the wind, shrinking the muddy lake. After a while, nothing remained but soggy grass and detritus strewn about the streets. The wind had calmed down to a mild breeze and was lazily twirling the strands of hair that had lashed my face during the worst of the storm. The felled tree now rested a few yards over, its bare branches splintered at odd angles. I stared beyond, trying to catch a glimpse of my car, but it was gone. Maybe it was a sacrifice to whoever had thrown that bolt down to earth to evaporate the churning water. I suppose better it than me. Thank you.
Any questions?
That was really great, Valerie. So you wrote with such vividness. I wondered if you'd ever been caught in a storm or if you just made it all up.
I have not been caught in a hurricane or in a flood. I've read about it. And so I took some inspiration from a couple things that I've read before and just, knew the news articles and stuff. I remember one time I was caught in like a torrential downpour with my mom on 83, and we had to pull over because it looked like we were driving through a pool. And so like I was thinking about I guess my big thing right now is personification, the life in the water and in the wind and how it was kind of swirling around. And I tried to put a little bit of that personality into this story too. Like the storm is a thing that's alive. It's not just water coming down, And so it's like pulling out my character. And so no, I have not been caught in a hurricane, but and I hope I don't get caught in one. But that was my inspiration.
Oh, I just want to say that was very evocative. I kind of agree with, I was having a hard time remembering to look at the timer. So, yeah, it's just more a comment than anything. So one last one and then we'll go.
I just want to ask, since you've never been in a storm, what prompted you to write something like this?
Thanks. Well, so this started as a writing exercise. We were supposed to do something like obviously fabulous that separated from reality. And so my main part was I guess, divine intervention. And I was kind of thinking like, well, what situation would be radical enough that someone who isn't religious or hasn't been for a long time would resort to praying for rescue? And the idea kind of just popped into my head. I don't know, maybe it was raining the day I wrote it. I can't remember. But like as soon as I realized that that's the situation she was in, it kind of just flowed from there. And I thought it would be funny to start and end with the car. I just imagine her on the roof, like watching it just drift away because you see all those videos and it's not good. But I thought it was like some good bookends. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.